about 2.5 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, me, Chris Knight, Onzo, Biggaford Entertainment, we all came together. 3 different cats, one vision to make Khaos Central the best YouTube channel on the planet. Here's one of our stories. Oh yeah, let's go.
Is there any stuff?
Khaotic Conversation is the name of the show. The first Monday of the month is the time that I go on here and bring you the heat. I got your bob in your head. You're gonna hear it repeat and be like, hey yo, is that Danny? He's an X-Man now, cause that flow is uncanny. No, I'm just a topic debater. I'm just an intro maker. Ain't no one greater. It's Monday night. It's 9 o'clock. Sit back, relax. It's gonna get hot. So, without further ado, the conversation is ready. Let's make it do what it do. Peace. Khaos Central is the channel. Khaotic Conversation is the show. Come catch me, comment, chat, Chris Knight, and Onzo. Peace.
What up, what up, what up? It is the first Monday of the month. You know what time it is? That will be Khaotic Conversation time. This is the channel, Khaos Central, and the boys are back in town once again. I'm rocking with my fellas. That would be Onzo of Biggaford Entertainment, Chris Knight of Real Review 3000, and of course, Guy Scar of the Bosco Scenario. What's up, fellas? How y'all doing?
What is going on?
Oh, you can hear him. Yay.
The boys are back in town. Yeah.
Yep.
The boys are back.
Hey, Donnie, I was putting together the Samuel L. Jackson thing. You know, he has over 100 movies.
I don't doubt it, man. I don't doubt it. And he's like over $1 billion his career-wise, as far as money made in movies.
Yeah, I had to cut some of them out. I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
no.
we gave him about 64, bro.
Yeah.
If you come in there with 100, I'm be like,
No. I can't do that.
I gotta go.
I can't do that. We already know how some of these people are on these tournaments, right?
Oh my Lord, that is an understatement.
Yeah, because he had a lot of cameos and.
Yeah, I think most, like, there's some I never heard of, so I just put those out. I took those out, and a few ones with just these little ass cameos. I took those out too.
Yeah. Well, tonight, fellas, gonna be more on the serious side. Onzo earlier this weekend sent a video clip. I've never heard of this particular YouTuber, but I think it's WDW Pro.
Yeah.
And I think he mainly specializes in
Star Wars
releasing
content.
movies, Star Wars content, and breaking stories. And the conversation was really, really informative to me. I've heard people say it in the past. I've heard other YouTubers say in the past that it was Kathleen Kennedy was doing this, and it was woke, and there was an agenda for females to shine and killing all. And sometimes you be like, really? Okay, now y'all are just kind of stretching. I mean, I'll be the first to admit, yeah. I can see some of your points, but I think a lot of it is just, okay, you just kind of
Hating.
sour grapes and stuff.
Yeah.
This guy, and we're going to show some, I want to give him all the credit. I hope it's not going to be a strike or anything, but
Chris
he
has
has
to do with it.
Well, and I'll write him and just say we're just doing.
But, yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
It'll be fun.
We'll toss it to our legal department.
Yeah, we'll toss it to our legal department, yeah. And, man, he was dropping some stuff. I was like, man, this is crazy. And just to kind of to square it up and frame it up, and I'm going to paraphrase a lot of this stuff, but I'm going to let you hear some of the conversation that he had. Basically, Jon Favreau was brought in, and he was given the reins to do The Mandalorian Season 1, Season 2, which was critically a success. A lot of people liked it. Especially lost their minds second season, the final show of the series. We saw Luke Skywalker, who for a lot of us on this panel, well, I think all of us on this panel was a very fan favorite, and it kind of breathed new life into Star Wars, because Star Wars was on a ship sinking really, really slow and steady, but that kind of like put a life raft under it, man, we had hope for Mandalorian 3. Now, I don't hate Mandalorian 3 like some people, I think, on this panel, and some people in the YouTube community, but it's definitely a drop off from season 1 and season 2. I will definitely admit that. But he talked about how it was like systematically done by powers that be in the Disney and the Lucasfilm hierarchy in Hasbro, and that very specific orders were given. So we're going to play some of that, and then we're going to come back and then let the panelists weigh in on what they think about it and just how crazy this is. See if I can pull this first one up. The guy at WD Pro, he is not, you can't see him, but he's in the bottom left corner. You see WD Pro. He does a lot of talking, and he asks each one of these questions. They're YouTubers, and you can see X-Wing is a big time Star Wars fan. You all see all the Star Wars merchandise behind him.
So is Coach. I've heard him
before. Coach.
And Valiant.
Valiant Renegade, X-Wing. A lot. These are guys that are in our the circles of people we know.
All right. Well, ain't in my circles. I don't know none of them, but they seem very, very informed. So we're gonna play some of this and tell us what you think.
So basically, the plan is to push away original fans who are, or should I say, would have been the most likely to introduce Star Wars to the kids, as well as encourage their kids to go deeper into the intellectual property. We're talking about books, games, merchandise, and more, than watching a few movies or episodes of a TV show with the old man. On the other hand, about a year ago, Hasbro and Disney merchandising combined together to fire an internal warning flare to Lucasfilm about an impending generational break in the franchise. That would mean a loss of evergreen status with their third parties. So, it is very possible at this point with the third season of The Mandalorian that they are attempting to resolve that issue, trying to hook the younger set by going more juvenile with the content of The Mandalorian. However, there is a problem there for Lucasfilm. It's not possible without boys. And to get boys, you need a cool male hero in the show. And an intro from dad to the intellectual property is a big plus. Dads need to show their sons Star Wars, or an uncle or a grandpa or whoever. The problem is that OG dads are bailing. That's what all of the internal statistics show. Dads are gone. Or they're just passively hanging in there, but they no longer have true passion for the series. Now, that was not necessarily true just a few years ago when Luke Skywalker was seen as a major player in The Mandalorian, when, in fact, The Mandalorian was seen as a paternal figure, a tough and gritty hero, carrying around Baby Yoda, who then appealed to kids, but all of it was leading on to something big to do with Luke Skywalker, who had been done dirty with the sequel trilogy. With that storyline essentially abandoned now, dads have left the building. Gentlemen, we'll go around real quick. Give me your thoughts. We'll just go round table.
Now, based on what he said, I'm going to start off with Anzo. Do you agree with what he's saying, that dads have left the building, and that in order for new fans to be developed properly, that they need to be introduced by a male? Or is that do you agree with that statement, or do you think there could be something that it can be introduced a different way?
Well, it's Star Wars, right? So Star Wars has always been generational. You know what I mean? As soon as my son was able to understand certain things, I put him on Star Wars right away. He's been a fan ever since. So I do agree with that, but I also agree there are other ways too. But at the end of the day, he's correct. It's like us, our generations, in his generation now, we're going to be the ones that are going to want to take our kids to go see the next big Star Wars movie, And if you're not catering to them, then you're going to lose that fan base. And I'm not saying that's the whole fan base for Star Wars now, because a lot of people have died off and, you know what I mean, like got older and stuff like that, moved on with life, but you always got to keep it fresh. So, I think there's other ways you can do it, but I think the major way is generational, like fathers taking their kids to go see it. Like I said, Return of the Jedi is back in the theater. I told my son, he's like, oh, I got to go see it in the theaters. And the only one he wouldn't have seen in theaters right now would have been A New Hope. So we're gonna go see it in the theater. So yeah, absolutely, 100%. You got to cater to the boys. Star Wars has always been a boy thing. I know you want to bring women into it, and there are women that actually like Star Wars, but the main demographic is boys. So
okay, Gasco, your thoughts?
And also put it very well. Listen, we grew up on it. We were young when the first New Hope came out. Got to see part of Empire Strikes Back, and 40 years ago, I was in line waiting for tickets at the Imperial, and I think Gonzo was right next to me. We're going to see that movie, I think. So definitely, it's generational. My kids, when they were younger, I start them off right away watching Star Wars, and they love it, and they are all into this whole, this whole legacy of these characters, right? And if I tell them they like the sequel trilogy, they like it, but they don't like what they saw, what they did to the original characters in it. And this is words coming from my daughters that are, 21 and 18 years old, growing up in today's world, right? So they themselves have a decent mind on their heads that they see what the original OG characters, which built this franchise, how important it is and what has happened to them, doesn't reflect what the original story is. So it's up to us, yeah. And if they don't cater to us, then that fan base is gonna die out, or just gonna disassociate themselves with whatever's coming out now, which is happening.
Yeah. Mr. Knight, what are your thoughts on?
Are you just wanting me to tackle the generational thing right now?
Whatever that you hear him discuss, we play in the clip, and you can speak on it, because there's another part of the clip I want us to hear as well.
So first off, the generational thing, absolutely. I'm with Anzo and Geisker on this. Yes, there are some women that fell in love with Princess Leia, and as they've grown up, they've continued to be great big Star Wars fans. And when they had kids, daughters, sons, it's mostly primarily a male to probably their son generational thing, but it is generational. Like, a parent is the first one that normally introduces these things. And I think we've all said it when we were talking about the sequel trilogy. The biggest problem is they didn't go after the original fans, because the original fans, and so right there, yes, I think this has already been explored by Disney. When Chapek came in, because remember, season 2 of The Mandalorian was under Iger, and I think parts of Book of Boba Fett were under Iger. And now that it was under Chapek and Kennedy, they tried to insert this, we're just going to do what we want. Even though they've tried it before and it's failed, they're doing it again. So yeah, I think this is just let's try it again. They did this once with the sequel trilogy, and it backfired on them. A lot of people complained about it. It brought up the fandom menace. I mean, what else can you say? That there's a lot of people that jumped on this bandwagon of hate Disney for what they did to the original characters, and here they are trying it again. So, but yes, it is a generational thing primarily to get people into it. And so when they just go after, it's like if you watch Baby Shark or something like that, kids will gravitate to that. But this isn't Baby Shark. You can't kid down Star Wars enough to grab kids first. It still requires parents to bring kids to it.
If I'm not mistaken, when they tried to kid it down, like in, I forgot what came after Rebels, it wasn't very successful. Because there's some
Resistance.
Resistance just wasn't very successful. Just kind of like, I don't know if you remember Thundercats. They tried to kid it down, and it was Thundercats Ho. And it was just some properties, some IPs, you just can't water down to the kiddie level, because it's just not going to work out. Star Wars is one of them. Star Wars is built on basically good guys, bad guys, cool powers, cool weapons, that kind of stuff. And there's some IPs that you can water down, but this is just not one of them. And I don't understand. And this, you're going to hear this man say it later in the clip. I'm not sure what timestamp is on. Like you said, they must be don't like making money because if you get a proven formula, you have to make money. Now, I know you have to keep stuff fresh. You got to keep stuff relevant. But Star Wars is not hard. It is about cookie cutter as you can get. As far as you need a good guy, a great bad guy, a lightsaber dude that's cool. Something that they're gonna really stakes are in it. Something leave the fans on a cliffhanger. Have a cool battle fight in space, man, and that's it. We will be there every time. But this trying to transform it into something that's just not meant to be, I don't understand it. But
Well,
you're gonna go ahead.
you see, the thing, Donnie, is they're trying to cater to women, right? And like we said, yes, women will like Star Wars, but that's not the demographic. Like, how many women do you know that actually be like, hey, let's go see the Star Wars movie? You know what I
I
mean?
actually know a lot, but most of them don't like this Star
Right.
Wars. That's the
If
thing. It's
you-
what's funny.
If you want to cater to the women, you get a dashing, good-looking man as the lead, and they're gonna come. And I give you a case in point: Yellowstone. Women are losing their mind over Yellowstone
Yeah.
and Rip. Cole Howard, I think his name is. I can't. It's not, been around for forever, but they give him a beard, cowboy hat, jeans, a horse, and even my wife walk around wearing a shirt. Rip. I said, okay.
And
What-
Jason Momoa for
Yeah,
Aquaman,
Jason Momoa and
right?
Aquaman. If you want to attract the female audience, that's what you got to do. You don't have to go ahead and totally strip it down to the bare bones, and then try to make it something else that it isn't.
And let's be real, right? Now we already know George Lucas gave treatments when he sold and they didn't want to do it. But I promise you, George Lucas would have treated Luke, Han, and Leia with respect in those.
100%.
You know what I
Well,
mean?
he would have. But we've talked about this before.
Even if they had died, even if he decided, well, you know what, maybe they'll die and bring on the new generation, they would have got respect. And Disney Star Wars did not respect those characters.
There's
He wouldn't
other
have-
things
He
here.
wouldn't have been a deadbeat father. That's what you're saying.
Facts.
Yeah, exactly. Really quick, to that point, yes, you're absolutely right. He would give it. That's because and you know about this because I think Anzo, you and I have like dug into all the archives, all the videos that he's shot, and where he's talked about.
On the way here,
he-
you was telling me how you got one client that you said they made a lot selling.
playing?
Was a kitty.
Jesus, is that you?
Yeah, no.
Danny, if you're looking
the-
for another spot, sorry, Chris, just hold that thought. There's timestamps, right? So if you go to the first timestamp, go to the next one, that's where he starts to question.
Yeah, but it's playing the ad before. So
Oh, I got you. Okay. Go ahead.
He studied Freud and you know a lot of these mythos and archetypes about hero's journey. And he didn't just study one; he studied Greek, Roman, Chinese. He explored all these different ways. He went to people and even asked the question, "Hey, what are kids going to think if I tell them that Darth Vader is Luke's father?" And the only reason why he went forward with it was because he was told either kids are going to completely deny it, and then you're going to explain it to them in the next movie, or they're going to buy into it. He said. So he always was concerned about how things were going to be presented, how they were going to be taken. And that's the difference is he studied it. He understood these things. So he would have, even if I tell you right now, if he had been behind the sequel trilogy and only thing you changed is he was involved in it, but you didn't change exactly what the storylines were and stuff, it would have changed a little bit, but it would have come across a lot better. Because he would have understood if we're going to do this, this is how we have to introduce it.
Mm-hmm.
This is how we have to do it. These are the flows and the ways we have to do this. The other thing I was going to say, though, is, and I can't remember, I just saw this on a video the other day. It doesn't matter if it's good or not. Because it's going to make money. They're making money off of this somewhere. Mm-hmm. They made money off the sequel trilogy. That's why they continue to do it. What we're talking about here is where your real money to sustain it for a long time is. Eventually, the people who are watching Star Wars right now, who have come to it with these crappy stories and stuff that weren't introduced to it by us, eventually these people are going to move on to the next thing because they don't have an attachment to it.
They're making money, but they're not making money they should be or what they once were.
It's not making what it could.
Because these people are going to say it in here. These guys on this clip we're watching are going to say the merchandising is taking a big hit. Because the only thing that really saved them was Grogu.
Yeah.
So, like, I go in the Walmart with my kids, we see a bunch of Grogu stuff, but we don't really see the Mandalorian ship. I've never seen that Naboo fighter ship. That should be something that should have been showcased. I've never seen that I-11 or IG-12, whatever you call it. I've never seen that. The Mandalorians, you should have all those action figures, all the different ones. I don't see any of that in there. So, they're because the demographic that they should be targeting is not happy. They're not buying the stuff because, like I said, these guys are going to say, he said, look, I'm a white male wearing a baseball cap in the 50s is going to buy much more merch than this target audience, which are little girls. Little girls are not going to buy. Some will. But if I got to put a percentage to it, it's 70-30. 70% of the little girls not going to buy it. 30% of girls are going to get it. If I'm asked to put a percentage to it.
I might even go a little bit lower than that, Danny. I'm maybe 50% of the girls, you know what I mean? Something like that.
Toys after 6 or so are more or are less likely to get bought now. Doesn't matter what the toy is.
Yeah.
Kids go to video games now. Toys are actually collections now. So again, this goes back to kind of what we were saying here, the generational, and they're isolating or alienating the original fans of this group. Because if they were including us in this, we would be buying the stuff if they were putting it out there. Because
I'll give you the toys on the kids. I'll concede to that. But like the T-shirts and stuff, I buy. Y'all know I buy T-shirts 2 or 3 times a week. But if I'm not pleased with it, I haven't bought a Grogu T-shirt.
You have a Ray T-shirt, Danny?
A what?
A Ray T-shirt?
No. I haven't seen one.
I haven't.
If it was something that was cool that I like, I'm like, okay, I'm not saying I wouldn't buy one, but it would have to grab my attention and look really cool. I got a Darth Vader in there now. I bought for St. Patrick's Day. It says, "Don't you feel lucky?" or something like that, and it's got Darth Vader holding up his fist with a bunch of St. Patrick. I meant to wear it on St. Patrick's Day when we had a thing, but if the T-shirt is cool and I like the franchise, then I'll rock it. But I don't know if kids gonna do that. My grandson, he is hard and heavy on it, on Star Wars. I just bought a new Star Wars game and he's playing that like crazy. Y'all keep talking. My mom just called. Let's see what she wants.
Yeah. But even me, my son, like the sequel trilogy, he don't like none of that crap. He's like, this is all garbage. Like, why would you do that to Han and Luke, right? Like, so even like, the younger generation, like my kids' generation, they understand what the originals meant. You know what I mean? They understand what Luke and Han and Leia meant. And no matter what you want to say, take away whatever you want about those sequels, not having the 3 of them on screen doing some sort of adventure was one of the biggest mistakes you could ever make.
They had 2 out of 3 and then they were like dysfunctional. Like, she was mad at him. He was, and they kind of apologized at the end, but I really didn't like the way I knew he was going to get killed on that bridge, but I didn't like that. I did not like that.
Me neither. And I didn't like the fact that Luke went into hiding, right? Han was back to smuggling.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? Like
after dysfunctional.
Like after everything he went through the original trilogy, there is no way you can tell me that this man is going to go back to smuggling. I'm sorry.
But guess who stayed in the fight and looked strong and regal and stuff?
Exactly. Princess Leia. You know what I mean? All right.
Do you have confidence in Favreau or Filoni? I do. I believe if they would have left Favreau alone, that he would have made this season just as good as the first 2 seasons, if not better. Well, I believe Filoni focused, based on what I'm being told, is Ahsoka. And me and Alonzo had a conversation through text, and I think he's a little concerned about Ahsoka now based on what we're going to hear from this rest of this. Let me flip back over to that and play the next clip, and then I'll switch back and we can talk some more about it.
Cool.
Kitty litter.
Kitty litter.
Yeah.
Now taken to the stratosphere, And that presented a real problem at Lucasfilm. You might think, well, no, that surely wasn't a problem because Lucasfilm should have been ecstatic. But many individuals at Lucasfilm were not. And I'm now going to tell you what happened following season 2 in a particular meeting that involved 2 high-ranking individuals from Hasbro, one of the key partners with Disney, as well as a strategic consultant from another third party that we can't name at this time, as well as executives from Lucasfilm. Again, this following the season 2 finale of The Mandalorian, where everybody is geared up and excited and ready to go. Here's what they were told. Lucasfilm was very clear to at least 2 partners who asked in the strategic meeting, including a consulting firm, Hasbro, and others with multiple Lucasfilm high-level executives. Lucasfilm was said clearly and plainly to everybody in the meeting that he would not be allowed to be a main character in any of the shows. He was at best allowed to be an occasional cameo. This is a quote from Lucasfilm. He is a cobwebbed character. He is a museum piece. He sells, but he is not a significant part of the matrix of new content going forward. So, if Grogu is going to stay with Luke,
when they're saying he, they're referring to Luke. Those in the chat, that's who he is, Luke Skywalker. This is what Lucasfilm is saying about Luke Skywalker, that he's cobweb, that he's just a old ancient piece of I guess property that they own, and he only is coming in there kind of like how Ric Flair does whenever they need ratings, or there's a man in WWE only comes to shows face to boost ratings.
then you lose Grogu. He's out of sight, with the exception of some glancing exposure. And for everybody in that meeting, that would have been catastrophic. Remember, production had just ramped up on Grogu at the time. The retail pipeline was full with new coming and toolings being freshly authorized. So do you want to fight with Kennedy when she says no Luke? Favreau has control of his own shows, but Kennedy has say over new shows. If there's no Luke show, and there's no Ranger show where he's supposed to appear, then there's no Luke. And if there's no Luke, there's no Grogu if you force them together.
This mistake is costing Amazon Prime.
So that is what the next piece we'll be discussing. So it seems like Kathleen Kennedy, according to this YouTuber, WDW, that she had an agenda and that she told them point blank, Luke Skywalker will not be used on a steady and continuous basis. He will only be used in precise moments where she, I guess to her choosing, he'll make it a cameo, he'll do this and that, but he's more or less is the old and they're moving towards the new. Now, for those of us who grew up on Luke Skywalker, that is a serious slap in the face. And I don't understand why, if Luke Skywalker brings that much popularity and brings that much viewing and brings that much ratings, would you not use him on a continuous basis to improve your profit margins, to improve your fan? So it's almost like she don't care. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I don't care. If you don't like it, there's a door. That type of mentality. So what are your thoughts on that, guy, Scar?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
To be honest with you, man, I've seen this whole video, and like you said before we just heard a couple of people say it, and then you have this whole panel that obviously they have sources, and when you get to see everything how is that unraveled in all these shows we've watched, it makes absolute sense that C is sabotaging this from within, and she wants it done her way. So it makes sense. You like, I don't know if you're going to play that clip part where she talks about Gina Carano, right?
Yeah, I think that's coming up next.
Right?
I didn't timestamp these. I should have.
Yeah, but when they spoke about that part, it made absolute sense.
You kind of use her like the scapegoat.
Exactly, right? And the fact that she was gaining popularity, right? That more popularity than Rey herself in the sequel trilogy. She didn't want that image, right? She didn't want that her to be associated for whatever she tweeted and things like that, whatever, besides the point. But you can tell that how would you, after, like we all said it in multiple streams, after season 2 ended with the great hype where everybody was almost back on board and looking forward to finding out what happens, what's going to be, what's the next thing, what's Luke going to do with Grogu, right? We all wanted to see more of that. And then we get Book of Boba Fett, where they pull in 2 episodes of Mandalorian to get back Grogu, and then we get the season we got of the Mandalorian that, I didn't hate it, but it was weak though compared to the last 2. So it's like she's doing this shit on purpose for her own fucking agenda, and she wants to just push her characters that she's been building up and bring down George Lucas's characters and minimize them to the maximum that she can.
Chris, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I know some of this is plausible and quite likely there's some truth there. The fact of the matter is that anybody that's high enough to know this stuff, I seriously don't see them giving out the information fully in a way like this. I have no doubts, and like I said before, I think when Chapek came in and Iger wasn't there to put things in check, we saw the product we got for Mandalorian season 1 to 2. Things were on the right move. That's why Iger's like, I'm stepping down now. Things are where they need to be. Should be really easy. Just follow this path. And then that's why they brought Iger back, because Chapek basically let things run amok, let Kathleen Kennedy do what she wanted. And I think that's the problem here, is that, yes, I do believe Kathleen Kennedy herself would say that Luke Skywalker is a cobweb character, that he doesn't need to be there, that yes, we'll use him here and there when we need to. But I'm not positive that that's the overall thoughts of everybody involved, which again is why I think Iger was brought back, because the stockholders and people who make the real call have noticed the problems with the products, I don't know how you would put it, the lack of quality and lack of substance from things. Because again, like we said, after season 2, everybody was like, I'm ready now. And even Favreau said that the Book of Boba Fett was in there as a 2.5. So obviously something happened between that and getting there to this 3rd season. So there's truth behind what he's saying. I just don't know if it's this actual exactly what they're saying. I don't think the toy companies really buy in that if Luke was there, it would hurt Grogu. The simple fact that would say that if Grogu had stayed training and you had added that in somewhere in these episodes and stuff, and the Mandalorian had gone to find out, to say that wouldn't have helped sales. Again, I don't think toy sales are anything that Disney is absolutely concerned about. And the fact that they're using that as a reason to believe this stuff, I don't buy into that, because toy sales just aren't what they are. People who buy toys now are collectors. They aren't kids. So if you were buying Grogu before, having Luke involved in that storyline, I don't think would have hurt anything. So while yes, I believe that Kathleen Kennedy herself probably believes Luke Skywalker is a cobweb character, I'm not sure if that's a rampant thought throughout these high-end people. Because I don't think anybody up there, if they were worried about selling toys, would have said, oh, Luke Skywalker is going to kill our chances to sell Grogu. No, they probably would have said, hey, it doesn't matter. If Grogu's involved, they're going to buy Grogu.
I just think, I hear what you're saying from the collector standpoint, but I know my grandson, he's 9.
Mm-hmm.
When he saw the Luke Skywalker, he was like very, very excited. I'm like, who's that? Who's that? And I know if I would have took him to the store, and let's just say 9 years old and younger, and they would have seen that scene with Luke Skywalker coming in and slashing those dreadnoughts, whatever you call them, the dark, can't think of the name, Dark Troopers, I think that was the name of them.
Yeah.
He would have asked me to buy that, and I know, just like I got, hold on here, I got a Funko Pop.
And to Donnie's point, I agree 100% that Luke would have taken away from Grogu.
And it had this scene right here where Thor is stabbing Thanos with the hammer. If they would have had a Luke Skywalker moment and him slashing one of those dreadnoughts, whatever, Danny would have bought it.
No, what I'm saying is that's what I'm trying to say. You can't tell me anybody that has to do with toys doesn't believe that if they're really worried about selling toys, that taking Luke Skywalker out is a smart move. No, what I'm saying is if Luke Skywalker was involved with Grogu would still sell.
Yeah.
So what they're saying here is that basically somebody in the room with the Hasbro people there were saying, no, it's a cowboy character. We don't need it. We're focusing on this stuff. If I were a toy exec, I'd say, I don't care who's involved with it. If it helps sell my toys, let's put it in there. So, again, that's where I'm saying. I believe Kathleen Kennedy might say that he's a comic character. She doesn't want to have that in her Star Wars. I don't buy that a toy company would say, oh, no, I don't want it either. No, I don't buy that.
Apparently it was important enough because they had Hasbro there.
Right.
And we all know Hasbro sell toys. So it was some
and that's
some
what I'm saying is that I don't buy everything that's being said here.
And I'll take it another step too, because you got to understand something too. With the way Hollywood and all these executives are, I 100% believe that. I 100% believe that they want to get rid of the old George Lucas stuff. I really believe that. And they feel, okay, so you have Luke there now. And we all know, first off, the sequel trilogy, no matter what you want to say, people are going to see the Han, Luke, and Leia. They weren't going to see Rey, Finn, and them. And you could have done it in a way where you had Han, Luke, and Leia, and you moved it to the next generation. You could have done that easy, smoothly, whatever. But they disrespected those characters.
Yeah, I agree with that.
100%.
Kathleen Kennedy stabbed George Lucas in the back. There is no doubt about it. She stabbed him in the back. She was there when they had the meeting about selling it, and she was talking about being true to these characters and everything that George Lucas had. The minute that she didn't, she got it, she went with her own agenda. So in Hollywood, there are a lot of like-minded people like her. Maybe not everybody in Hasbro felt that way, but maybe the ones that were most important did, because they all have the same kind of mentality,
and that's why the toy business is dying out. Tell me that this
I agree with you. I agree with
across the toy business.
100%. I always say that. I always say people like to bring up, oh, well, the toys ain't selling. I'm like, but nobody's really buying toys anymore. I say that all the time.
But that's what I'm trying to say.
But when you go from a certain level all the way to the bottom, it's not just people buying toys. It's the fact that nobody wants those toys.
I think that we also equate toys with merchandise. That's not the only form of merchandise. You got coffee cups, you got T-shirts, you got shoes. So maybe using the word toy is not the correct terminology.
Right.
But there is a definite hit in sales. The only thing that maybe not be getting hit is the Star Wars games still be selling off the shelves. So maybe they're not feeling it, but the other forms of it are feeling it, in my opinion.
But I think that's a dying art. What I'm trying to say here is that I don't even really think that okay, when we were growing up, we didn't have video games. So when Lucas, again, let's go back to when Lucas first got the ability to do anything he wanted with the likeness of the characters, and he wanted merchandising and all that. Nobody cared. Why? Because there was no money in it. You know who created money and merchandising? George Lucas.
Yeah,
and now that George Lucas isn't around anymore, the rest of the companies are right back to where it is. What does it matter to us? This isn't where our money is. It's in Rainbow Bright. It's in this. It's in that. It's not necessarily tied to these things. What's tied to these movies is collectors.
I think merchandising got more power than what you're giving it. I ain't saying it's the ultimate power, but
You know what?
No,
It,
in
it
some
do.
companies, it is a driving force. And I give you one company. In WWE, I always hear Vince McMahon talk about the things, merchandising, the next cool
But that's
T-shirt.
a lot that's got a wide swath, and it's a lot. It's not necessarily the same type of thing we're talking about. I
So-
don't think that there's anything that Star Wars can do to ever get back its merchandise sales, unless, again,
they
going
get a
back to
cool-
what we said.
Cool movies will.
But no, cool movies and stuff. But I guarantee it's still going to be people like us buying it, and then that's collecting. We're not buying it to play with it. And maybe there are a few that would go. I still don't buy that the toy part of this means as much as maybe people are pushing on that. Yes, I totally agree that Kathleen Kennedy has an agenda. I totally agree that Kathleen Kennedy has taken Star Wars off the rails.
I can tell you what her agenda is. You can tell right off the bat, man. She does not like men.
Well,
I'm telling you, she
What if
does
she
not like
married?
men.
No,
I'm
she got to a point.
Professionally, she does
off-
not like men. She's
I
been
agree.
under
Yes.
so much like the number 2 or number 3 and had to work her way up. I understand it's hard for women in the industry, and it was. We hear a bunch
But
of
now
cases.
she's blaming men for all the problems.
Now she's taking everything out on See, I was behind you, and I'm gonna fuck up everything you worked for and do it my way.
I don't
That's
disagree
what
with that at all.
And here's the thing
But
with the
again,
toys,
that's
Chris.
why I think Iger was brought back.
Here's the thing with the toy, Chris. You're absolutely right that the toy sales has dropped people, but you got to understand. You put a good movie in there, you're gonna have that toddler, like maybe 3 to 6 year old, who will still play with those toys. You understand? So
There's a
you
good
may
point.
not have like because obviously the older you get, you're getting into video games, stuff like that. But the younger ones that can't play video games, they will want to play with those Star Wars toys. And the fact that you're not making anything good to, other than Grogu, to make people want to buy those toys, because look how Grogu sold, right? It's collectors, but it's also those little kids, the little kids from 3 to 6 that want that little Grogu doll.
Well, I don't want to sound, and please, nobody come here and say that, Danny. But I just looked up. She's 70 years old. So by statistics, she ain't got too much longer to be around here. And I don't wish any death on her. I don't wish anything bad happens to that woman. But sometimes things fix themselves. So she was born in 1953. So I mean, she's 70 years old this year. And
There's a reason why Iger was brought back.
I don't wish any bad thing on that woman to die or anything like that. But I'm just saying. I didn't realize she was old. I thought she was a younger woman. But
you say they brought back Iger, but Iger agreed with everything she did in the.
I said that
sequel.
Years ago.
In the sequel trilogy, he agreed with everything. He let it go.
Things went downhill when he left because there was nobody there keeping anything in check. So what my point here is I'm not saying Iger was the perfect answer, but we were getting the Mandalorian stuff. She was staying out of the way of Favreau and Filoni because he had some. I'm sure he had a belief that they could do their thing. And he probably asked, hey, leave this alone. Let's see what happens. And it was doing the right thing. As soon as he's gone, what's the first thing that happens? We're getting really weird things. And we've all said it. It's like, what's going on here? What's going on here? What's going on here? This is dropping down. This is this and this. And all this stuff's going on. I'm not saying he is perfect. No, he let that happen. But I also had said earlier is that the difference between Marvel back then and Star Wars is that Star Wars, they never had a plan to go past the original trilogy because she didn't have that roadmap that Feige had. That was the biggest difference between the two. And I think Iger at least had some ability to help focus some of it, not all of it. I think that's why Iger came back, because people were like, well, at least when he was here, this was going to... I still think she's going to push herself out. I think she's going to push herself out on this because people are seeing this stuff. They've been talking,
this is the thing.
Not just people like in our groups.
Let's play some tennis now.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, this is what I'm saying. You are absolutely correct, right? But you got to understand, even with the sequel trilogy, Iger's on the same agenda she is. Because if not, he would have been like, no, we can't do that. No, we got to fix Luke. We got to make sure Luke, he would have made changes.
I don't know.
But he agreed with
I don't know how heavy he was involved.
I think that
he's the boss.
I think because he
can't hold on to everything.
I think because her movie was profitable, he was kind of like, Okay, well, I don't necessarily agree with it, but I'm making money because I heard he got a crazy bonus, like $64 million. I think he made 1 year there just in salary and bonuses. So if you're making that kind of money, you're not going to tell that golden goose to stop laying eggs. Even if you don't like the food the golden goose is eating, but it's producing eggs and you cashing in. So I think that's what Iger was. I think that, okay, maybe he could be the heavy hand, but
He answers.
she was making so much money on these movies. Wasn't the first one, Force Awakens, $2 billion?
$2 billion.
The other two, as bad as some of us don't like them and some of us do like them, each
They
one made
both
$1 billion.
made $1 billion,
I mean,
yeah.
that's hard to argue when, yeah, the fans are saying, you suck. Let's get the torches. Let's get the forks, pitchforks. But guess what? I'm bringing home the bacon. So,
But I agree
yeah.
with you there, Danny. But when you see the first movie make $2 billion and then the second one make $1 billion, you have to.
But you know why? Because it was so
questioning.
long between when we saw Revenge of the Sith and then when we saw the intense anticipation was like, oh man, fever pitch. They wanted to see
100%.
it, but then once they saw it, and a lot of movies had that same effect. Because Endgame, for instance, what movie came out the Endgame? I can't think of what it was off the top of my head.
After
Yeah, what's the first movie after
Spider-Man,
No
Far
Way
From
Home.
Home.
Far From Home.
And see, that made $2 billion, right?
Yeah,
But-
something like that.
But that was a kind of a different set of circumstances. But now, when the first movie didn't make it, then how many of them? They're not making $1 billion like they used to.
Yeah.
So I think that sometimes, unless you just got a very strong IP, and Spider-Man is like, then we discovered one time it's like the third most popular character in the world, like Superman, Batman, then Spider-Man. So those right there are going to have a little bit of strength. But Star Wars, I think it hurt itself some when it went to streaming. The Mandalorian kind of picked it up because it was going on a trajectory that we wanted to see. But then, like most of y'all on the panel don't like Boba Fett. I think I'm the only one that does. Then
What? I like you mean the movie or the show?
the show.
The show.
I was okay with the show.
Okay,
I don't like how they showed up. They
half of
watered
us
down Boba.
I think only 25% of us like Andor. I think maybe 50% of us like The Mandalorian season 3. So I mean, they're hurting themselves because they're kind of oversaturating Star Wars with not good stuff. If they had good stuff, then I think like they had with Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker was like their flashpoint. And for whatever reason, they didn't take advantage of the flashpoint where they could have turned this thing around. So
Yeah.
I don't know
Well,
what they're gonna do.
You see, hold on. I agree with you, Danny, 100% with the second movie not making as much as the first one, but they lost more than half of that money. And the reason why is because it's word of mouth, right? If you
Yeah.
tell people that the second one is freaking amazing, it may not make 2 billion like the first one did, but guaranteed it's a lot closer than it made. You know what I mean? That's what I think.
Sometimes
So
word of mouth ain't true, because Lord knows I shot from the hilltops. Go watch Black Adam. Go watch Black Adam. And it did help.
yeah, but we
I-
also don't have 100,000K subs. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
I know
we
what you're
had that
saying.
kind of subs. You bring in more people there because they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I agree with Danny." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's the problem is the ones that had those big subs all
Didn't like
hated the movie for
Yeah.
some reason. Like, it's
Well,
not that bad.
Let's go to the next part, then we
Yeah.
can jump back.
Oh, just let me say the reason why I got this video is because of Chillmonger. So I just wanted to shout out Chillmonger for at least bringing that shit to my attention. Because when I seen it, I was like, "Oh, this is interesting."
What are you saying, Anzo?
I was just saying I shout out Chillmonger because he's the one that brought the video to my attention.
All right. Yeah.
So,
Good deal,
yeah.
Chill. Thanks, man. We
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Says, I have to say your sources are on the money. A lot of us here are just hanging in. At one point, there was hope that Kathy would exit near term. I don't hope that anymore. Perhaps she's at the end of her rope. Maybe she's ready to leave, but she doesn't act like it. She acts like she's staying another 5 years, so who knows? Most of the people who worked with George are out, leaving, or keep to themselves to make it out alive. There was excitement around here a few years ago. When The Mandalorian started, which was then just a Favreau hop-in, every metric was off the charts. But it made Kennedy look very bad. It made the sequel trilogy look bad. She put Dave and John together. They worked well for those first seasons, but then things went sideways. The sequel trilogy backers were pissed that The Mandalorian had figured out how to unite the fan base. It beat all the narratives that were supposed to explain everything from inside Lucasfilm for what happened with Rise of Skywalker. John had the magic. There was no denying it. He created Din with the idea of combining Darth Vader and Han Solo personas and turning him into an anti-hero stuck with an innocent magic kid. That's the Samurai Squire story. It worked great, and Grogu took off with merchandise. But then the toxic side of Kathy's crew started looking for a way to put Lucasfilm proper back in control. Kareem Daniel, Valiant, I'll let you explain who that is in a moment. Kareem Daniel had protected Favreau so that his contract with creative control was ironclad. But Favreau didn't have anything written in to ensure green lighting of series. So when Gina Carano was taken out, and by the way, that may have been more than a culture war issue, that may have been about getting power of Lucasfilm, Favreau lost his Luke storyline with Rangers. They had to divert it to Boba Fett. Then Kennedy elevated Filoni and turned Favreau's MCU-style vision into a Clone Wars battle. Now Favreau is almost never on set with the productions. He'll probably continue to make his money, be the nice, non-confrontational exemplar that he is, but hope is gone. The magic sauce was Din combined with a mystery character that was supposed to be connected somehow to Luke, somehow to what happened with the sequels. Now it's just episodic cartoon serial stuff. The magic is gone, and all of it so Kennedy could hold on to power. So there you go. It seems to me that what this individual believes is that Gina Carano was targeted not necessarily because she had the wrong opinions, but because she was a convenient person to get rid of. Because if she was the one who was gotten rid of, and it makes sense because you'll remember they set her up over and over where she would try to come up with, a way to appease them, to say, well, I don't hate people. And they would come up with crazy solutions that were just untenable. According to this source, Gina Carano was gotten rid of because that would get rid of Rangers, or the Ranger of the New Republic, and therefore it would kill the Luke Skywalker story, and therefore it would protect the sequel trilogy and keep Kathleen essentially in power. X-Wing?
Wow. That is a lot to take in. Basically what this guy is saying, that Kathleen Kennedy felt like she's losing her power because this new kid, which is Jon Favreau, come in here and made her, and not intentionally, but put egg on her face because she was getting so much slack and stuff and heat from the fans and disapproval. He came in there and was able to figure it out using some of his skill set that he got from the MCU. Him and Dave Filoni, they bonded, were really good, and knocked out the first 1 and 2 seasons of Mando, and everybody was on board. But I guess her people in her ranks and stuff said, nah, we ain't having that. So to use Gina Carano, what this guy's saying, as a sacrificial lamb is really, really crazy. But I believe it. If it's going to be, it's kind of like playing chess. Kathleen Kennedy was playing chess in this, and she moved pawns and she moved knights and whatever piece you want to use in this example to win the game. And look, right now, maybe she's not checkmate, but she's close to it. She done call check a couple of times. So I don't know who's going to be her opponent. I guess you could say the fans are the opponent. I guess Jon Favreau, if he chooses to be the opponent. I think she kind of gave Dave Filoni what he wanted and kind of leave him alone. Hey, you go there, work with Ahsoka. She's a female, and that's it. That's going to be in my agenda, so you go ahead and do what you want to do, and he's happy. So I don't know if Jon Favreau even has help anymore based on what this guy is saying. Your thoughts, Chris?
If she wanted to get rid of the competition, she didn't want him to do that. She didn't have to let him do the second season. She knew it was coming. She could have stopped anything whenever she wanted and just said, oh, no, we're not doing that.
No, based on what he said, though, the contract was ironclad.
but not in the sense that again, the greenlit. He can't greenlight series, so she had the power to stop anything.
No. What I'm saying, ironclad. I mean, from firing him any kind of way arbitrarily.
Why would you care if you fired him or not? You just tell him, well, you're not going to do that. She didn't have to fire him. She just had to.
But if he has a contract, you know what I mean, for 2 seasons or 3 seasons, you can't just fire him in the middle of that contract.
I didn't say that. I'm not even talking about firing. I'm not saying don't have to fire him. You just say, no, not going to do that in this series. She is the be all end all of it. What?
Why are you seem to be defending Kathleen Kennedy?
I'm not. I'm saying
when we already know she has been the one that has changed the series. She has been the one that has done things
now. But my point
even in season 2.
Okay, but what I'm trying to say here is that what they're saying is that somehow she got rid of Gina Carano because of that. That's probably why it was. I'm not saying that's wrong. What I'm saying is none of what they're saying changes the fact that she could have done it anyways, and she could have done it beforehand. She could have done it afterwards. I don't buy completely that what they're saying is exactly what went down. I think that Kathleen Kennedy, again, it makes no sense to me. A story that doesn't tie itself into, okay, let's go down a bit further. She didn't want anything to do with any of this stuff. Which, again, the Mandalorian is still his character in some sense or in fashion. And she can try to change what she wants. Ultimately, if something's good, and she's doing this in the background, she will be the one that has to take the blame for it. Favreau is, if anything, gonna sit back and say, okay, fine. What I'm gonna do is, if anything comes back to me, I'm gonna say, listen, season 1, season 2, this is what she did in season 3, because hey, you know about it. Again, a lot of stuff is going on in Disney. I don't buy we're going to get a lot of information out of it, and I still think a lot of this is speculation. Okay. Does it make sense?
Let me ask you a question. Yeah. You say you're not buying that. The numbers show that, and the fan base show and the fan support show that season 1 and season 2 was a hit. So
yes, I'm not saying that.
Okay, you let me finish my question. Yeah. If you're an executive like she is, and you got to look at the whole big picture, not just one part of it, but this one section right here is not giving you any headache. It is being very successful. Why would you do anything, make any kind of decision, make any kind of change or something that is absolutely 100% working and getting your fan base back to where it needs to be?
Because exactly what Guy Scard said. She's been behind the people, and I'll be honest with you, she was behind doing the work for George Lucas that he asked her to do while he was reaping benefits and making these movies. These are the things that she wants to put her mark on this, and she thinks she can do better.
Yeah, but she's in charge. She's in charge now.
Exactly. So my point is that she will make these calls just because she's like, well, no, I can do just as good. And every time she's tried, she's failed. And then something happens. They allow something to. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying I'm offering something different from what they're saying. I understand. You look at this from a certain landscape, and it seems like that. I have no doubt she's trying to take control. I have no doubt she is the one behind firing Gina Carano because, you know, the reason they used because of the Holocaust survivor museum tweet or whatever it was ridiculous because of how what she said was not against Holocaust survivors or anything like that. Listen, we know it had to have been something she made a point of. I don't buy that. I don't buy first off that the Luke storyline would have been in Rangers as much as they think it would. Nobody knows much about Rangers. Rangers never was much more than just an announced concept, and then as soon as Gina Carano was gone, it was basically shelved. And yes, I believe that what we're talking about, that in season 4 of The Mandalorian, they might incorporate parts of what they were thinking about doing. But I just don't think that this is exactly what they're reading into it.
What is your evidence, besides a gut feeling, that you don't buy when these people seem to be their history of reporting stuff has been on point. So if
Well,
someone is telling
actually,
you
not
something
all
that's
the time. I
well,
mean,
well, give me the receipts
I'm
where
not
they
going
haven't
to
been
get
on
in.
point.
Well, I'll go back to what a lot of these people were talking about back once the Spider-Man deal fell through between Sony and Disney. Everybody said it was dead. Everybody I had talked to
We're
that
talking
was
about
part of
I'm saying these
particular
people,
guys.
these particular
no,
guys.
and these guys were saying the same thing back then.
They only report
It's
on
across
Star
the
Wars.
board in this group of people that we everybody thought, oh, it's gone. They're not going to get it back, and they did. And everything, listen, I guarantee you, there's just as many people sitting here saying, again, I am not saying that some of the basis of what they're saying isn't right. Yes, Kathleen Kennedy is behind a lot of this stuff going on. What's her reasoning for it? Are they trying to use if you want to use, she wants to whip out her cock and make it look like she's like the big dog. That's what she's doing because she's tired of being the second fiddle to people. So now that she's in charge, when somebody starts doing something and she feels like she's not being given credit for it or she's not a part of it, she's going to clamp down and say, no, we're going to do it my way. And the whole forces female thing has been around since she took over. We've known that Star Wars has been a mess for a long time. And Filoni and Favreau, when they were putting together this Mandalorian show, we all said that they need their chance. And she has heard this. Trust me, she gets this idea and she'll hear it from people. And I'm sure she receives emails from people all the time that say, oh, this was crap. This was a crap. And anything that comes across her desk that she hears that was her idea was crap is going to make her clamp down and make moves so she can say, look, I'm still in charge. And that's what I'm trying to say. I don't know if this has anything to do about toy sales or anything more than she had been around the Spielbergs and the Lucases who designed these huge franchises that were beloved. And as soon as she got a hold of it, she's like, I'm going to show you what I can do with this. And when it didn't work out, she just keeps trying. What's the line in Star Wars? The tighter your grasp, the more star systems you'll lose, or whatever exactly. I don't know the exact line.
Stick to your
That's
fingers.
that's what she's doing. She feels that this is slipping from her. And so she's going to grasp, she's going to make irrational decisions, she's going to make rash decisions, and that's what's affecting it right now. And again, I'm not saying he's the answer, but there's a reason why this happened more in the past 2 years when Chapek came in. Because I think Iger was kind of the stopgap that said, whoa, wait. Let's stop and let them do what they're doing. That's his show. Let him do what he's doing. I think Iger was kind of like the, I don't know about protector for Feige or not Feige, but Favreau and Filoni. But he probably, because he was in charge of her, said, listen, this is doing well right now. We don't want to screw with this, because Disney Plus was relying on The Mandalorian. And as soon as Iger left, it really started going crazy. And yes, I know that Carano was gone before Iger left. But I think that from an executive standpoint, when you throw the Holocaust thing in it and any twist of the words, that's kind of something that if that's what she fed him, he probably looked like, okay, yeah, I kind of get that. Okay. Disney, again, as I will always say, has always been an iron curtain. If you think you know what's going on behind the scenes, then you're letting somebody feed you a lot of information that's probably not right. There are truths in this. I guarantee you there are. I just don't think it's everything here. I buy that she feels that she's been threatened and she's trying really hard to keep her grip on everything, and she wants to be in charge. And we'll see, because Ahsoka will tell us a lot. If Ahsoka is very heavily laced with, but even then. So Ahsoka's a strong woman. If they write it right and then we all love it still, Does that mean she didn't have a hand in that?
We don't know.
It fits right in her agenda, doesn't it?
That's what I said earlier.
Yeah, so it could be a perfect show to everybody, but then that fits right into what she wants.
Now. You playing golf a lot. Yeah. Guys, go.
Listen, she brought in Favreau. They brought in Favreau, who came with a very huge success rate with everything he did in Marvels. After season 2, it was proven what he's done and what the power that he got just by that successful, and the vision and the relationship he built with Filoni. So yeah, she felt threatened. She felt threatened by that, and then she did what she had to do in order to keep control. And what does a good leader do when, she feels she's losing control, when other employees and stuff like that are united? Well, they create chaos. They throw a wrench into it, because within chaos, she can control the chaos.
Yeah.
Based
on what you heard tonight from these guys, are you leaning more towards you believing them, or you
I believe them.
doubts?
I believe them.
Okay.
It put at rest all my doubts.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
That's it.
I 100% believe them, right? And especially with the Ranger stuff, because if you really want to do the Rangers, you could do it. You just recast Gina Carano's character. You could easily do that, right? And let's get the Rangers out there, right? I 100% believe what they're saying. For whatever reason, and I agree with you, she may feel threatened or whatever, and like, oh, they're doing good and nobody likes what I did, so we gotta change it up to make sure that it stays, or gets hated more than my stuff. They said exactly what I've been saying about The Mandalorian many times, is that it feels like the Clone War cartoon. And that was 100%. When they said that, I was like, yeah, I said that all the time. It doesn't seem, and I've said this before, like the writers that did these shows don't know how to write TV series. And of course, Filoni comes from the Clone Wars cartoons, and that's what Mando ended up feeling like. So I believe 100% that, she did things to sabotage it. But my problem is, why do you could just sit there and take the credit for all the good stuff in Star Wars.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Yeah, hey, I greenlit it. That's right. I let these guys do what they want to do. You could do all of that. So it's her ego that is making it like, oh no, I can't do this and we can't do that. And Star Wars is female and I'm the one in charge of Star Wars. Like, I can promise you, she probably always says, hey, George Lucas gave Star Wars to me for a reason. You know what I mean? George Lucas gave it to me. He didn't give it to anybody else. Filoni was around. You know what I mean? No, but he gave it to me. He didn't give it to you, Filoni. He gave it to me. I know what I'm doing. I guarantee you she has that type of attitude.
I ain't laughing at you, man. I'm laughing at what you said.
No, yeah, no, I know what I'm saying. I 100% believe she has that type of attitude. And I believe she's doing that. So at the end of the day, I do think,
let her finish.
I do 100% agree that what these guys are saying, it's everything. It's her. It's 100% her. Go ahead, Chris. You can go now.
I don't buy all of the angles they're coming at it with, but when you boil down, yes, I think what they're saying ultimately is every decision that we're seeing that people are questioning has come from Kathleen Kennedy. Anytime that we say that the show is going in the right direction, what she hears is exactly what you said. Oh, wait, they're not talking about my stuff. Oh, no, we can't have this. And like you said, a good person in her position would say, well, I saw that they understood the characters. I saw that they understood what Star Wars was about. You don't have to talk shit about it. You can just say, yeah, I think they're doing a great job. And as the person in charge of Lucasfilm, my job is to make sure that Star Wars gets back on track, and it's obvious that it's getting on track this way. And if that's what's working, put your ego aside and say, hey, I'm going to get the credit for this. So whether or not it's my ideas or not now, if I let it happen and let it organically grow and become something that was Star Wars in the past, which Mandalorian was on its way to do that, yeah, you want to stop and say, okay, well, I can take credit for it. She can now. She's George Lucas in this situation. She could take credit for it. well, I talked with them and, I understood they saw where the characters should go. And so I, as the leader, was able to say, keep it up, do it, you're doing a great job. And she'd get the credit, which is basically what Danny was saying about the movies. They saw the number and the money, and that's what stockholders care about. So they thought she was doing a good job. Again, in the past 2 years, when Chapek took over, this is a lot of things at Disney have taken a nosedive in the wrong direction. And obviously the stockholders have decided that the only answer to fix this was Iger. And I am under the impression we're going to see some changes between, now and whenever. And I don't know if that means she's gone or if he's the babysitter until her contract's up and they're not going to renew her contract. Because remember, by the time he left, she got a new contract.
She is not going anywhere.
I don't know.
Until that day comes. I've said it many times because we've heard it all the time. Oh, yeah, she's fired. She's going to be fired. The contract's coming up. Boom. She gets a new contract. Until that day comes where she is actually gone, that's when I will say it. But until then, I don't see her going anywhere.
No. Too much.
So it's going to end next year sometime. I'll have to look exactly when. But again, I still go under the impression that maybe you give her more work to do and you put her in charge of Disney and then she can't focus on Lucasfilm that much.
If it was me, I'd go ahead and terminate it now, pay out that contract, and be done with it and start anew. But anyway, we've gone on an hour and 11 minutes. This was a good conversation. We could go about another hour and 11 minutes, but that's not going to happen. So, but we're going to go around the panel and everybody shout out what's going on in their neck of the woods. I'm going to start off with my main man, Mr. Geiscar, the Bosco scenario. What's going on in your neck of the woods, sir?
Neck of the woods. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, the Bosco scenario. I'm streaming Jedi Survivor. I also have a show on Wednesdays, 8 p.m. called The Hangout. You can catch me here every first of the month on Khaos Central, as well as every Sunday on Storms Live. Danny, thanks for having me, man. Great show.
Not a problem. Mr. Knight, what's going on in your neck of the woods, sir?
Just getting ready to wrap up the Masked Singer stuff. We got Jackbox Game Nights, got these shows. No roundtables right now, so I might get back to some gaming here soon, hopefully. Yeah, that's about it. Thank you for having me on as usual.
Not a problem, bro. Anzo, what's going on in your neck of the woods, boss?
What up, guys? Biggaford Entertainment. You guys know where to find me on the channel. Wednesday night will be the OOC. And we'll see about having a tournament on this Friday. I'm not sure. But other than that, man, great show.
Right. And I'm your host, Danny, a.k.a. Comment Chat. You can find me here first Monday of the month, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Next Wednesday we'll be on Anzo's show, The Khaos List, which I'm sure will be fire. And that following Wednesday we'll be on Chris's show, The Rule of Three. On Wednesday nights, you can catch me at 8 o'clock p.m. on Gaskar's show, The Hangout. And sometime I pop in on Anzo's show, The OOC. And every Sunday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can find me without a doubt on Storms Live, Rob Storm's show. So, again, this was a fantastic topic. I'm glad Anzo sent it to me, and I'm glad Chill sent it to him. It was something that really kind of lingered with me all weekend. And see, I want to talk about this because I was kind of one of the ones that was like saying thought it was a bunch of, okay, it ain't that serious, but it does seem to be very, very serious. So if you're a Star Wars fan, take your sons, take your daughters to go watch it. I know some of the old Star Wars is being played in the theaters, but I'm a fan, but I'm not going to see that. But I will definitely support my grandson. Just bought the newest Star Wars game. He's playing it. He's kicking my butt like nobody's business. But until next time, please take it easy, stay safe, and peace.
You know, about 2.5 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, me, Chris Knight, Anzo, Biggaford Entertainment, we all came together. 3 different cats, one vision to make Khaos Central the best YouTube channel on the planet. Here's one of our stories. Oh yeah, Let's go.
Is there a mixtape?
Chaotic Conversation is the name of the show. The first Monday of the month is the time that I go on here and bring you the heat. I got your bob in your head. You're gonna hear it repeat and be like, hey yo, is that Danny? He's an X-Man now, cause that flow is uncanny. No, I'm just a topic debater. I'm just an intro maker. Ain't no one greater. It's Monday night. It's 9 o'clock. Sit back, relax. It's gonna get hot. So, without further ado, the conversation is ready. Let's make it do what it do. Peace. Khaos Central is the channel. Chaotic Conversation is the show. Come catch me, come and chat. Chris Knight and Anzo.